Today we're going to cover flight following for gliders, the service for ATC to help you avoid traffic conflicts on your cross-country flights. Let's dive in.
In this video, we'll cover what flight following is, required equipment, how to know who to call, making the call, operating with flight following, terminating flight following, and how to know where the high-risk areas are. Have you used or been reluctant to use flight following? Let us know in the comments. So what is flight following? Flight following is a service provided by air traffic control to assist pilots during their flights. It enhances safety by providing traffic advisories and weather updates, ensuring the pilots are aware of nearby aircraft and potential hazards. It is not a VFR flight plan, nor does it imply clearance into Class B airspace. It is particularly useful for VFR pilots when navigating through busy air corridors. Now, required equipment. To utilize flight following, you'll need a radio capable of VHF communication, a transponder. ATC will likely assign a discrete transponder code or a squawk code. Be sure you know how to change the codes. Practice on the ground if needed. Workload permitting, and depending on the characteristics of your glider, ATC might be able to provide some services without a transponder, but they're likely to be limited as the controller will not have a direct readout of your altitude. How to know who to call. Before you call for flight following, it's essential to know which ATC facility to contact. You'll be talking to either an approach control or air route traffic control center. If you're near Class B or C airspace, the frequencies to call will be printed on the terminal area or the sectional chart, or in the Class B, C, Tersa, and selected approach control frequencies section on the sectional chart. During pre-flight, you can call 1-800-WEATHER BRIEF and ask the briefer for flight following frequencies on the route you'll be flying. You'll need an account to connect to the service, but once you have one, the system should automatically recognize the phone number you're calling from. In flight, you can call flight service on frequency 122.2, which is available over wide areas, but for better reception at lower altitudes, look for the remote VORs or flight service station sites or with other frequencies printed above the box. If the frequency is followed by an R, like here at 29 Palms, the flight service station can only receive on that frequency and transmit on the VOR voice channel, so unless you have a VOR receiver, that won't be usable. Use the name printed below the VOR box and the call sign radio. For example, use the relay from Julian VOR, use frequency 122.6 and call San Diego Radio, for example.
San Diego Radio, glider 29er X-ray Delta 122.6 near Julian.
When the briefer replies, request flight following frequencies and describe your altitude and direction of flight. For example,
glider 29er X-ray Delta, San Diego Radio, go ahead.
Yeah, looking for the flight following frequency for Julian southbound, probably a 10,000 and above.
They may ask for additional information, but will eventually reply with the controlling agency and frequency.
Glider 29er X-ray Delta, what's your proposed destination?
It's a round robin to Charlie Lima 35.
Glider 29er X-ray Delta, looks like your area I'm showing out on 128.15. Also see another frequency 128.6. Give those a try. If not, you can call back.
Making the call. Now let's make the call. We'll establish communication and then let them know we have a request. For example, we'll call the controlling agency, your call sign, and that you have a request.
LA Center glider 29er X-ray Delta VFR request.
ATC will acknowledge your request, provide you with a transponder code, and offer traffic advisories as you continue your flight.
29er X-ray Delta, squawk 2475.
2475, okay.
The controller will confirm your altitude and position, and they may ask about your route or altitude intentions.
November 29er X-ray Delta, radar contact about 20 miles south of Julian, altitude indicates 22,500. The San Diego altimeter 3000, say type aircraft destination.
Roger, confirm the altitude, and it's a glider, and I tend to go to the border and then come back up to Warner Springs, north of Julian.
29er X-ray Delta, Roger.
But the controller might not fully understand glider cross-country flying. You may have to explain that your altitude and course will vary based on conditions at the moment. If they ask you to maintain a certain course or altitude, it's okay to say unable if you're not willing to do so. Likewise, you might advise them of other glider activity you know of.
And my two glider buddies are up near Julian. They're probably going to do the same thing, though I doubt they'll call you.
X-ray Delta, roger.
Workload permitting, ATC will issue traffic advisories for other known traffic.
You're about 12 o'clock, 15 miles southwest on a citation out of 15,000, sitting at 14,000.
Roger, no joy, Delta, X-ray Delta.
You may want to let ATC know when you're stopping to circle or changing direction.
I'm going to turn back north now, 2900, X-ray Delta.
Terminating flight following. When you're ready to terminate flight following, it's just as straightforward. Just call the facility and advise them that you'd like to cancel flight following.
And LA Center, X-ray Delta, descending to land now, so we'll terminate VFR flight following. Thank you.
They'll confirm the cancellation, and if a transponder code was assigned, to change back to VFR or 1202 for gliders.
Thanks, ready to respond VFR, appreciate you, have a great day.
All right, thank you very much. Good day.
How to know where high-risk areas are. While the collision hazard with light airplanes is hard to predict, the highest risk for traffic collisions with airline traffic is near the major airports. But they don't approach the terminal area randomly. Most utilize standard terminal arrival routes known as stars. It's easy to look up these stars to locate the highest risk areas. In general, arriving airline traffic will be approximately 1,000 feet high for every 3 miles from the airport. This corresponds with the Class B Mode C Vales being at 10,000 feet, 30 miles from the airport. We can use websites like skyvector.com to locate and plot the arrival routes. Some, but not all of the arrival routes may be displayed on the terminal area chart, like this. But for a more complete picture, we'll look up the actual arrival procedure. Let's look at San Diego as an example. We'll right-click on the airport symbol and then select the airport. Scroll down to the stars. And start looking for ones that look like the area that you'll operate in. The charts are not to scale and often don't have other landmarks on them, so we'll make note of the fixed names and altitudes for later reference. I've chosen the Lucky 1 arrival as I'm interested in the altitude range from about 18,000 to about 8,000 feet, as I'm expect to operate in that altitude range. I find that aircraft are expected to cross Desert between 19 and 23,000, Trixie between 12 and 14,000, and Barrett at 8,000. To locate this area on the sectional, we'll just type those fixes into the route tool on the SkyVector and they'll display on the chart. Now I'll combine the routes of multiple stars in the route box to draw them both on the map. We can then mark them on our sectional charts for reference in flight.
Okay, that about wraps it up for flight following. If you haven't used it, I hope you give it a try sometime soon. I think you'll find it can be quite useful and help keep you safe, and that's what it's all about. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Section 200.4. Alaska, 1343, traffic 12 o'clock, about 5 miles, forwarding over Oceanside, jump aircraft at 11,600, stopping at 13,000. Alaska, 1343, can I still count those? 13.1.